Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing about the topic that is cities creation. In this basically we are talking about the 20 percentage education error basically. In this basically we are discussing that with the 11 parts basically was divided, right, basically of the Earth planet. So 11 parts was there of the Earth planet. So Earth planet basically was divided in the 11 parts. So Earth planet is divided in 11 parts. Somebody has tracked this. That means task basically he was going to do. Whatever person basically who created the education, he was going to do some certain level of task. That's why he divided the Earth planet. So whenever basically big level task basically he starts, that time basically he do what he divides the planet. So in this basically assume that basically he divided the Earth planet basically in 11 parts. So whenever basically he was going to start the work of education, assume basically that. So whenever he started the education work, before that basically he divided the Earth planet into 11 parts. Assume that basically in 11 parts, one of the part is the Asia. Entire Asia is basically one part, and in this basically the task in this basically he has basically done negative positive task both basically. So negative task and positive task, both tasks basically he want to he basically might have planned basically. That basically who planned they. So the Earth planet can divide the Earth planet basically can divide the Earth into the 11 parts. That is impossible basically. So some satellite group basically has divided the Earth planet in 11 parts. So one of the part is Asian part basically. So whenever he want to do certain level of task related to Asia, and he feels that basically some problem basically can occur basically, that time he divides the Asia part from the world. When basically he want to do some task basically which is related to European task basically, that time he divides the task of Europe basically. He basically divides the land of Europe basically. So few people says that basically how if the center of the world basically is there, then basically then also basically he divides basically how basically that satellite groups only basically might be knowing that how basically he might be dividing. So one of the person told that the reshaping basically has started basically. So he told that basically mostly basically who are staying at the border of the world basically, they might understand basically whether the reshaping is happening or not basically. And mostly basically reshaping might be happening. The mountain basically might be shifting from one area to another area. That is mostly the Everest mountain basically. Might be basically 100% not sure basically, but 98% basically that is sure basically. He might be reshaping the planets basically. That is mountains basically might be shifting from one area to another area basically. That means Mount Everest, Himalaya mountain. These all are basically the very dangerous area basically, that also you can say. And that 100 plane also basically example we have already taken basically in previous videos basically. So one of the person told that basically like this basically the Earth planet is divided. Like this basically the Earth planet is divided. So whenever basically the big task is going to happen, before that basically he divides the world. Currently basically assume that basically world might be divided in 11 parts basically. In this basically the Asia is one of the part basically. Asia basically is one of the part where basically the world has divided basically. So like this basically the task starts, and in this task basically he started the task of education sector basically. And in this basically currently the error is basically 20 percentage. Previously it might be some 8 percentage or 10 percentage, and currently it is 20 percentage error basically. And one of the person told that basically how the world is created, that basically everybody knows. Assume that basically there are 4 crore basically words in the world basically in the dictionary basically of the Oxford basically. And that basically mostly basically the Oxford dictionary basically in India basically their branch basically might be in Mumbai only basically. 98% basically, 99% also not, 98%. Their basically branch might be in Mumbai basically, that is 100% sure. Reason, economic city basically that is of India, basically that is India, that is Mumbai. So 98% basically that would be in India only. So whenever they face some problem basically related to finance, they can easily contact that businessman basically who are basically staying in Mumbai, where basically most of basically big software companies headquarter basically are there, basically most of big software companies, and there basically they have opened their headquarters, that is the Oxford University Dictionary, which basically has created more than 4 crore words basically. So here basically don't go into word number basically. 4 crore, it might be 40 crore also basically, but we can't say exact number basically. That basically the Oxford University basically only might be knowing. Few words basically are never displayed in the dictionary also. That words basically are spoken by the set of powerful groups basically. When they speaks the word, that time basically something generates in the environment basically. That is very dangerous basically. So that basically Mumbai has to be aware basically, because they have given the space to the Oxford University. India has not given. So like this basically the Oxford University, that means Oxford group basically might be visiting the Mumbai city, that is also 100% sure basically. So here basically the world is divided in 11 parts. That is the main thing basically. And mostly basically each and every parts of the group basically might be 100% knowing that. For example, the European group basically, they might be 100% knowing that basically world is divided basically, and physically it is divided, and sometimes basically it's physically shifts from the earth planet also. For example, Asian land basically, that physically it shifts from the planet basically, physically shifts basically, physically the mountain shifts from the planet basically. Sometime requirement is up to that level basically, and that's very dangerous basically. That's very dangerous. But for universe group it is not dangerous basically. They are basically doing the daily task. This type of task basically are common for that group basically. But for earth planet basically that is not dangerous task, that is actually dangerous task. So in this basically what are the tasks basically each and every country is doing, that basically we have already discussed, and how basically the data science project is connected, that also we have already discussed. So this is the main project basically of the data science in this world basically also, that you can say. And that 12 lakh crore basically, how basically that is divided, that also basically we have 12 lakh crore dollar basically, that is how it's getting collected, that also we have already discussed. That is 100 planes basically, and banks data, that is money shifts. And then basically the bank cricket basically, that basically already we have taken. Cricket basically do this type of stuff basically. So cricket basically gets the investment basically. So like this basically they do this type of stuff also basically. So like this basic cricket, who created that everybody knows basically, that is BCCI group basically. And BCCI groups are basically in Europe basically. So they basically have the investment basically in the stuff basically. So like this basically we have discussed lots of things basically. And in this the main point basically we are discussing, that is 20% error basically in the education basically. That is the main topic basically, the most dangerous topic which is ongoing basically. That is connected with this 200 people also basically error, that is directly connecting to 200 people error. And one example I have already taken, that one divorced girl basically and one boy basically, he was literally educated and he was basically not getting the job, and he basically converted into the error basically, that your education basically converted into error basically. So that basically also is one of the part of the education error basically. That basically education error basically, that has converted into education error basically. And that basically Asia part basically is already divided into the 11 parts basically. It might be 100 also basically. In as an example only basically I am taking as 11 parts basically. In really basically it might be more than 100 basically. It might be 100% more than 100 basically. Not 100%, 98% basically. So one of the person told that basically the earthquakes basically which happens, 20% errors, the 200 peoples, these all basically are connected with each other. So in next video basically we are going to see one story basically, how this everything is basically connected with the earthquakes and the investments.